What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Through a Different Lens. My name is Travis Huffstetler, and if this is your first time here, I'm really glad you found this podcast. And if you've been listening since the beginning, thank you for walking this journey with me. It's been a few weeks since I posted, but in the first two episodes, we talked about something a lot of people feel but don't always have words for. The fact that most of us grow up looking at life through lenses that were handed to us. Lenses shaped by our parents, our schools, our culture, and even well meaning people who loved us but were still figuring life out themselves. We talked about the script most of us were taught to follow: go to school, get a safe job, don't take too many risks, just make enough to get by, and then do it all again the next day. And for a lot of people, that script never quite fit, and they still don't know why. So today I want to put a stake in the ground because this is the foundation of everything moving forward on this podcast. We weren't created to survive. We were created to thrive, created on purpose for a purpose, to grow the kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. I want you to hear that slowly because that statement changes a lot of what we've been taught. We were created to survive. We weren't created to survive. We were created to thrive, created on purpose for a purpose, and to grow the kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. Thriving doesn't mean comfort, it doesn't mean easy, and it doesn't mean selfish. Thriving means living in alignment with how God designed us. The Bible starts with something incredibly important in Genesis 1:27. It says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them." That one verse changes everything. Because when we say we're created in God's image, that's not just about morality or character. It's about nature. God is a creator. He creates. He brings order from chaos. He multiplies. He produces fruit. And if we're created in his image, then that means creativity, growth, and multiplication are a part of our design. It's not something we have to earn. Nothing God created was designed to stagnate. Trees don't grow halfway and say, that's enough. Rivers don't stop flowing once they reach a certain point. And fruit is meant to multiply. When a river stops flowing, it dies. When a tree stops growing, it dies. So when we stop growing spiritually, creatively, financially, we should at least ask the question, is this really humility or is this fear? A lot of us have confused survival with faithfulness. We think as long as I'm paying my bills, I'm doing okay. Or as long as I'm not wanting too much, I'm being humble. But survival mode does something dangerous. It shrinks our vision. When you're just trying to get by, you stop learning. You stop dreaming. You stop creating. And the problem with that is the kingdom doesn't grow through survival. Jesus taught us to pray, "Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." It's Matthew 6:10. Heaven isn't barely getting by. Heaven is order, abundance, creativity, and life. So if the kingdom is meant to show up on earth, it's not going to come through people who are constantly stuck in survival mode, just barely getting by. How can you do it when you're just trying to get by and you can't concentrate on nothing but just getting by? Same old, same old. And that leads us to money, because this is where a lot of people get uncomfortable. Money was never meant to be the goal, but it was never meant to be feared either. And a lot of people forget to realize when they say money's not everything, that they're selling their time to a company for X amount an hour, which means that's the value that you place on your life. is this much money an hour, because you're selling yourself to said company for this much an hour, and you're saying this is how much I'm willing to accept for my time. And our value is created within. But just like in, money was never meant to be the goal, and it wasn't meant to be feared either. Like in Matthew 25, Jesus tells a parable of the talents. 3 servants are given resources. 2 of them use what they were given, grow it, and they multiply it. 1 of them buries it because he's afraid. I call this putting it in the bank, saving it for a rainy day. He didn't invest. He just held on to. Because he held on to it so tightly, and he buried it to save it, he got fired, basically. Because the servant who played it safe wasn't praised for being cautious. He was corrected for being fearful. The message isn't chase money. The message is steward what you've been given and let it grow. Money follows value. And value is created when you use your gifts and your talents to serve others well. I'll say that again, because money follows value. And value is created when you use your gifts and talents that God's given you, and you use them to serve others well. That's thriving. Where survival says, I just need enough. Stewardship says, how can I grow? How can I grow what God put in my hands? How can I grow what God put inside of me? And we're all searching outside, looking for the answers that are inside. I've lived on both sides of this. I've lived in seasons where everything felt tight, money, direction, confidence, and I've questioned whether I even had the right to speak. That's me coming back now, is because I've felt like, who am I to be talking about this? Because I've gone through so much, and I'm going through stuff still. I'm like, why would people want to listen to me whenever I haven't even got it all figured out? I'm just a guy trying to figure it out. And I realize that we all have things that we're going through. We're all going through storms. But a lot of people stop moving. A lot of people stop growing. And that's the majority of people in life. And what I've learned is this, that God doesn't wait for your life to be perfect before he invites us to grow. Growth often starts in uncomfortable seasons, just like what I've been going through, just like what you've been going through. We're all going through seasons of uncomfort, discomfort. Sometimes they're good, but we're going in one storm, coming out another, and getting ready to head into another, because that's how it works. The storms are always coming. You have good days and you have bad days, but it's how we choose to see the bad, or the storm is how we choose to get through it. So we can still dance in the rain, even when it's storming. We just have to choose to see it differently. So here's the question that I want you to sit with this week. And you don't need to rush to answer it either. The question is, where have I stopped growing because I settled for survival? This isn't to shame yourself. It's not to beat yourself up, but it's to clearly see. Because clarity always comes right before change. I started this podcast to help you see life, work, money, and calling through a different lens. One rooted in faith, growth, and stewardship. You weren't created to barely get by. You were created to thrive. And if you want to walk this journey more intentionally with me, I'll leave a link below to a simple resource I created. No pressure, just an invitation. Thank you for listening to Through a Different Lens. Again, my name's Travis, and I'll see you next time.